Scourge is my main. I've been playing necro since I started this game. Like 95% of my time has been on Scourge. I mean on necro. And that same amount of time is basically all World v World. So I've been working on class good for a very long time. And I know how to play the class very well. And I hope what I can teach you guys will help you guys play it very well as well, probably better than me. Because I'll be honest, even though I get this character a lot and the mechanics a lot, it's a very high skill ceiling, and mechanically, it can be difficult. So if you're not mechanically challenged like myself, you might be able to make this build kick more ass than me. So, Scourge. Power Curse's Scourge, the way that it plays, it's medium to high spike damage at that mid range level. Um, Without sacrificing any of the damage, it's able to do a shit ton of boon corruption. That is this class's specialty, is boon corruption, which is huge in World versus World. And the best thing about it is it does a lot of AoE boon corruption. As you can see, I'm running 3 different wells. Um, Now, that's where you're getting a lot of your boon corruption from. If you want to sacrifice one of your wells for stability, I would recommend switching out Well of Darkness, and you would take Trail of Anguish. I personally don't do this. Used to, but I just use 3 wells just because the damage output is insane. And honestly, if you have a good enough guardian, you don't really have to worry about stab for yourself. Good enough guardian and herald running roads. You don't really have to worry about stab for yourself, and also sometimes when you're stuck in a situation, it's not like Trail of Anguish is going to help you a super ton anyway. You're you're a light armor class. You have 2 dodges. You have to be very aware playing Scourge. So I just run 3 wells because one time another Scourge main said if you can't run 3 wells as a Scourge, then you just need to get good. So I was like, I'm gonna get good. um, so over the traits, you're gonna run Spite, Versus, and Scourge. So Spite, you're gonna run Spiteful Talisman, just extra spike damage there on your focus and axe, which are huge weapons to be using. Single focus, go over those later. Death's Embrace is your one of your minors, deal increased strike damage while downed. Um, and Lesser Spinal Shivers, um, super good. So Chill Your Tiger, remove up to 3 boons, dealing extra damage based on the number of boons removed. Um, so I'll go over another reason why this is really good. It's just Spinal Shivers is just amazing. Um, Another minor, Siphon Power. Gain might when you strike a foe below the health threshold. Just extra might, extra damage. Spiteful Spirit, and again, I mean this is extra damage and a little bit of CC. You get that cripple in there when you're converting boons into conditions. So going into curses, minor critical hits have a chance to cause bleeding. Bar precision, a little bit of extra damage. No one really cares. Plague Sending, your first attack after entering Shroud transfers conditions. So the way that this would activate on your Scourge is Scourge's Shroud isn't like Reaper or Necro. It's not like you go into a Shroud and that's how it works. So these are your shades, and then these are some of your manifests. This is your Shroud. So your F5 is your Shroud. So when you activate that, um, this procs your or is that the one I was just talking about? Yeah, so that procs. Is that the only ability that procs that though? I believe so. Yeah. Another minor, gain fury when entering Shroud, just extra chance for precision. And then you run Path of Corruption. So Shroud Skill 2 now additionally converts boons into condition. So your Shroud Skill 2 on this class is your which one's considered it? Yeah, this one. Nefarious Favor. And then another minor, increase critical hit chance for each condition on the foe. Gain condition damage based on your precision. So just again, extra damage output. Like I said, this class is based on boon corruption. So if you're doing it right, you're just doing a lot of damage output because again, I mean, when you have something like this that's boosting your critical hit chance for each condition on the enemy, you're just converting boons constantly, so you're doing extra damage constantly. Lingering Curse, your condition damage is increased. That part isn't really all that super important. It's the Devouring Darkness part that's the important part. So Devouring Darkness is boons from enemies around your target, inflict torment, and gain life force for each condition. Blah blah blah. So this is this here. This is your Scepter 3. So without it, what really changes here? Let's see. Boons converted 3. Boons converted 3. You get extra damage output, extra torment, and you get a radius of 360. So you're getting that many more targets with it. So you see how this still got that range of 900. But barring darkness, you get the range of 900 with a radius of 360, getting up to 5 different people. So that's just a shit ton of boons that are being converted into conditions. It's insane. Devouring Darkness is one of the bread and butters of the necromancer. I love it. And it's just it works really well with the build because there's no justification to not run Devouring Darkness. Moving on to Scourge. You get your Sand Shades, and then Sand Flare now also grants barrier to nearby allies. Barrier removes conditions afflicting them.
Careful of nearby alleys.
Nearby allies when you find them in those alleys. So here it says the conditions converted to boons. Wait, that's not what I'm looking at, is it? And flare. Oh, sorry. Your heal skill is Sand Flare. So boons converted to conditions, and it grants extra barrier. So running this when it's granting the barrier to extra allies, you can save this ability for a self heal, but again, I mean, you see the self heal; it's only 3K. It's not a shit ton, but you see that barrier is 4K, almost 5K barrier granted, and it's granting it to up to 5 of your guys. So this is an ability, instead of really using it as a heal skill, you're more using it as a almost like you're tanking up your friends when you're going to go in. So it's for when you're about to clash and also during a clash. So basically, like if you hear a commander yell like stab up, you can cast your Abrasive Grit. I mean, not your Abrasive Grit, your Sand Flare. I'm sorry. Um, or you could just wait until you have that immediate clash, and you can send out your Sand Flare. It's just an extra barrier for five-year guys. So that's that. Minor gain concentration expertise for each of that. No one cares. Sadistic searing. Skills gain reduced recharge and cause your next manifest sand shade to inflict burning on foes near it. Um, so punishment skills. That's you're really just using ghastly breach and your sand flare. Um, but it's just extra damage. It's not like super great, but it's extra damage. Blood of Sand, reduce all incoming damage taken for each sand shade you have active. So the way that this works is your sand shades are here, and as you can see, you have an ammo count of 3 of them. Your body also counts as 1, so your character counts as 1 as well. Just so you know. And then feed from corruption. Have to run this. Have to. So when you remove a corrupted boon from an enemy, gain that boon. Again, the amount of boon corruption that this class is capable of is insane. So if you if we're running a Scourge heavy comp and the enemy is not, we're already like we're already so ahead of them because we're gonna have all of the boons. You know what I mean? Um, so those are the traits that you're running for this class. I'm on the Scourge, and now I want to go over kind of how you should be playing the this Scourge. So on a clash with the enemy, right? If your commander calls out a bomb and you're on your Scourge, what do you think you should start with?
Shades.
It depends, right?
Or wells.
So yeah, so you want to start with wells. So unless it's specified. So some commanders will specify, like there's a commander in SF that'll specify whether it's shades first or wells, and then there's another SF commander that he will call it out specifically as far as like he won't say shades, but he'll make sure to say wells so they know wells. But if a commander doesn't say either one of those and they just say bomb, you should start with your wells. Um, I'll go over gear after, no problem. So now the way that your wells should be put out here is just like how I have them: well of corruption, well of darkness, and well of suffering. So the reason is because in World v World the cooldown times are different. I think it's like 40 seconds, 35 seconds, and 30 seconds or something like that. I could be wrong. But the you want to go highest cooldown to lowest in the order that you're going to press the buttons. And when you send them out, obviously if I put them all on top of Eeyore right here, he's going to melt, right? So if I throw all these down, okay, well, are you you running your heal build?
Yeah, and I spammed.
So anyway, 35% he's down to. 35% he's down to. But you get my drift. If all of us did that at once on a group of people, it's going to hurt bad. So in World v World, obviously you're moving around, so you want to kind of put these out like in a Venn diagram, you know. So you would put these out. I mean, like they're running through them. Oh, this hurts. Ouch. So that's how you'd want to put them out. clash. Like I said, if you're in the middle of a clash, you're gonna send out your sand flare, and then after wells are done, you're sending out your shades, doing what you can. Now, I don't know if you guys just seen that. I did it really quick, but um, sorry.
You're
The way
lagging.
that I sent.
Sorry. You're lagging a lot for me. So if you do anything quick, I will not see it. Just
Okay,
Just-
that's okay. So I'll
Yeah.
just go over
Your
it. So
Discord stream is kind of choppy.
my recording is probably going to be garbage. Oops.
I'm still recording.
Um,
Keep going.
So when you send out your sand shades, you send out your sand shades. I'm sorry, I ran out of life force, but you send out your sand shades, and then you do F5, F2, F3, F4. So that's the order that it should go in. Um, so the reason that you send out your shroud first is because see the buff that you get. You're getting 20% crit chance with the Fury. So you're immediately just gonna do more. You're making your shroud do more damage and your garish pillar do more damage. Then right after that, you can go right into um, Devouring Darkness. I'm gonna go over all the skills on the weapons as well. Reason being is because unlike some other classes that actually have a rotation, Scourge doesn't have a specific rotation. Every ability has just Scourge just has so many layers. It's you just need to know like when to press what when. Um, Another reason why it's not for the mechanically challenged really, but for me, challenge accepted. um, so yeah, I mean, typically in a clash, after I've already wasted, spent my wells, and I've used sand flare, and then um, again, if the commander doesn't specify to use breach, because again, some commanders do, then on a bomb, uh, use your use your discretion. So, like you're like, okay, this is a clash. It's you know, wells and shades didn't end it. Might as well use breach, kind of deal. Um, and again, don't forget your range for this class is at 900. If you see, like my shades are at 900. Essentially, everything's at 900. So keep that in mind. If you're at that mid-level range, your scepter and um, your scepter and dagger are going to be like your bread and butter here. Um, Sorry, I was checking my phone. So blood curse, it's just your one bleed your foe. Um, Grasping dead, summon skeletal hands to cripple foes in the target area. So this grasping dead is something that I use like after you've used your bomb. If there's people that are trying to scurry away and run away, I'm going to use this on them because they're going to be crippled for 10.5 seconds. So they're not going to escape, and it's an AOE, number of targets 5. So if there's a couple of guys like, oh, let's get out of here. No, you're not going anywhere. We're going to hit them with this. Our guys will catch up. They die. I already went over Devouring Darkness. It's huge. Great Boon Corrupt. Deathly Swarm. Blind and transfer conditions to your enemies. Again, this is one. The blindness really isn't that important. It's if you're paying attention to what's going on with your character, you got conditions on you. Might as well use this because it's going to transfer. See, conditions transferred is 2, but number of bounces is 3. So this is some pretty good Condi clear, and it's not something that Necro has a lot of. So make sure you're aware of Deathly Swarm. Enfeebling Blood. You inflict weakness and bleeding on the foes in the target area. Again, 900 range. Number of targets is 5. This is something that it's kind of one of those abilities you can just fire out. So I'll move on to the axe and focus now, and why these are great if you're like chasing down somebody that you want to kill. So remember when I said the lesser spinal shivers and why it was so cool? So if you see the damage for 3 boons, that's 1,431 damage. If you're stripping 3 boons from somebody with this, and the way that this procs is if you hit somebody that's below 50% health. Now, this is your spinal shivers. So it's the same thing, but this is the actual one. You see how much damage that does there? 3 boons, 2,332 damage if I'm taking 3 of them from somebody. So that, those can stack. So if you hit somebody under 50% health and they got boons on them, you're crushing them. Even if they're not at 50% health, this is gonna do crazy amounts of damage with spinal shivers. And what you're gonna want to do is here, give yourself some boons, Eeyore.
Okay. Gosh,
Somebody give him something.
I'm on a necro. Hang on.
Everybody
Oh,
on their
hold
necro.
on. I'm still
How
in
do I
combat.
defend
Leon is not.
against
She's
something
on a
like that?
ranging.
I gotta get out of combat and then come back in.
While we're waiting, how do I defend against something like that?
Against a necro.
Yeah.
You're a ranger, so I mean, just pull out your longbow and
Shoot from further away.
yeah,
Yeah.
shoot from farther away. You got 1,500 range and 1,200 range, I believe.
When I'm
You
far
just
away, they're not a problem. It's when they're on top of me. So what will be the best weapon to defend against that,
Longbow.
even up close?
yeah, I mean, honestly, so is it longbow 4 that is the CC knocks them back?
Yeah.
Longbow 4 and the longbow 2. We're a light armor class. You can hurt us pretty bad.
Okay. I think it's because they gang up on me. Because they
Right.
always kill me. I mean, like quick.
I got
Eeyore, if
willpower,
you
so
just start giving yourself some boons real quick. That's all you got is that. Give yourself some stab. I need some boons on you. Except you're
I'm trying. You attacked me, so
so use Trail of Anguish, Well of Power. There you go.
ouch.
You see how quick his health bar melted there? So I was hitting him with, so what I did was I went Spinal Shivers because he had 3 boons on him. I went Spinal Shivers into Ghastly Claws. And then Ghastly Claws took him down low that 50% health threshold. It procced lesser Spinal Shivers. So and damage just from that little combo there. So if you're chasing a single target down, always axe focus, spinal shivers into ghastly claws, especially if they have boons on them. Release a disembodied hand to draw life force from your foe. That's soul grasp. This is just good for life siphon, really. It's an ammo skill. You get 2 of them, and it's just good for the not life siphon. I'm sorry. It's good for life force. My apologies. You get 11% life force back from using that, which is pretty fat. Unholy Feast, cripple nearby foes, convert their boons into conditions. This is another ability that this cripples, but obviously if you're in that, if you're trying to chase people down, just use Grasping Dead for crippling. Unholy Feast is more so for that boon conversion, just more condies. And I think that's all the abilities on here. Yeah, Rending Claws is just your number 1. And I believe that's it. I didn't really touch on Ghastly Breach, except for, how to just use it in a clash. Again, discretion, but don't forget it is extra boon conversion. And there's 5 pulses on that. So it's quite a bit of boon conversion as well. I know you guys wanted me to go over the equipment. So for the Scourge, you're going to be using everything Marauders. So Marauder. Reason that you want to use Marauders on this class instead of Berserkers is because the way that the Necro works is this life force bar here. The more vitality a Necro has, the more life force you're going to be able to have. More life force is more important because at the end of the day, it means more damage output. You're going to be able to spam more of this. You're going to not have to worry so much about, oh, it's drained all the way. I know mine's drained right now, but that's because we're in the guild hall. But typically, if you're in World, like if you run the Marauder stuff, you don't have to worry about this, like, ever. So, yeah, everything Marauders. Weapons should be axe, focus, scepter, dagger, always. I don't care what meta battle says. Meta battle says that there's a staff version. No, don't use a staff version. Don't use the torch. It's not worth it. You're giving up so much if you swap these out. So that's really about it for this class.
Runes and
I know
skill.
it's. Oh, sorry. Thanks. For runes, you're gonna want to run Rune of the Eagle. You can run Rune of the Scholar if you want to. The idea behind Rune of the Scholar is that because the barrier uptime of a Scourge, they're going to be above that health threshold, so you're going to be able to do that extra damage with Scholars. In World v World, it's not really the case. So I like to run Superior Rune of the Eagle instead, because you get that deal 10% increased strike damage to targets with less than 50% health. So yeah, especially if you're zerging, I'd rather be able to do extra damage to the enemies with my AoE and know that that damage is going to go out, especially if we're winning a fight, rather than me just being like, oh, this damage might be done if, my group or myself can keep my health up. Eagles is kind of just a safe bet, essentially. Sigils are, let's see, for the axe, run absorption. For focus, run energy. And for your scepter, run. Both of them are just energy and absorption. Just make sure you have energy absorption on both sets. And yes, it's full Marauders for everything. I mean, you could have a couple trinkets for Berserkers. Like I have, I think I'm running 2. Yeah, so I'm running 2 Berserkers. But I mean, you should have basically everything Marauders. Also, with Marauders, you're going to have a higher precision chance than you would running all Berserkers. So, I don't know the numbers. Some people are like, oh, you give up damage if you run all Marauders instead of Berserkers. You sacrifice damage for health. But you have a higher precision chance with all Marauders. So, you get a higher crit chance. So, I don't know the math behind it, if you're actually getting better damage or not. But, yeah, them's the breaks, kid. So that's the build. Do you guys have any questions on the Scourge before I go into the Power Wells Reaper? No?
None for me.
Cool.